The state attorney general's office and Lonna Carroll, the woman accused of stealing more than $1.7 million from the South Dakota Department of Social Services, arrived at the Hughes County Courthouse for day one of her trial. Grant Green in Pierre with our continuing coverage here tonight.
Today's case progressed quite a bit. Both sides were originally supposed to just do their opening statements and also select the jury. However, they were able to get through several witnesses to try to determine if Lonna Carroll is guilty of 2 different counts of aggravated grand theft. Witness testimony confirmed the Attorney General's claim that Lonna Carroll had the ability to use the Department of Social Services Family and Child Information System to request, approve, and sign off on the removal of funds in accounts entitled to kids under Child Protection Services.
From the children that are in their custody, care, and trust to the financial happenings. So there's literally thousands and thousands of transactions that are kept up there. Witnesses testified today in that system. Whenever you do anything in that, it stamps the user and the time.
Additionally, the Attorney General's office asked Amy Parsons, the branch manager for American Bank and Trust, whether or not the Currency and Foreign Transactions Reporting Act would apply to Carroll's actions, who reportedly took several deposits of over $10,000, with one equating to around $19,000.
The answer to the question when asked was that she'd had approval, and that's why there weren't further questions asked, and that was the answer provided in court today.
The defense, court-appointed attorney Timothy Whalen, is looking to prove that the charges are not applicable and that the state didn't catch wrongdoing within the statute of limitations. The case is scheduled to go to Friday. However, depending on what unfolds, it could end even earlier or it could go into next week. In Pierre, Grant Green, Dakota News Now.